Titanfall 3 is the best game of all time. As you can see from the gameplay, it's a blast. Everything from weapons to titans to level design have all been improved since Titanfall 2.
Alright, how long has the subject been in this state? We pulled him in here last year. Wouldn't stop yammering on about hackers and titans. What's he even on about though? Titanfall 3 never released. Doesn't matter. Whatever has afflicted these poor souls seems to be spreading. Regardless, the best way to defend yourself from the virus is to accept the one truth, that Titanfall 3 is not real, and it never will be.
Titanfall 2 is a masterclass of game design. Addictive parkour, solid gunplay, time travel, gunfights through a house factory, robo-daddy, and a South African who has no time for skill issues. Wait, this game came out years ago. Why are we talking about this now again? As elusive as the infamous unreleased Half-Life 3, the third installment of the Titanfall franchise, no, not you, has been waited for patiently by fans for a little under 6 years. And I've been waiting it out as well. Titanfall 2 is easily amongst my top 5 games list. With an immaculately designed campaign and extremely solid multiplayer, Titanfall 2's gameplay is so beyond satisfying, it's nearly perfectly designed. Now, if the game is such a cult classic to many, and beloved by fans for years, why haven't we gotten a third one? EA, Respawn Entertainment's publisher, launched the game in between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty. It sold poorly, marking the Titanfall series for a feared hiatus. The surprising thing about Titanfall 2 is that despite the weak launch and small player base, pilots remain on the fields of eternal struggle, mounting up the casualty statistic on Wikipedia. After launch, free maps, content drops, and game modes are released to the masses. Respawn released this content at no cost for the players, and the only content locked behind paywalls were exclusive, non-gameplay altering cosmetics. Truly, the saints of the gaming industry. Now, I'm honestly surprised more people didn't jump on this game sooner, considering that this game sounds like a dream. And it really is.
Wake up, pilot. Titanfall is now abandoned.
Titanfall 2 received a beta for private matches 3 years ago, and now it still remains in beta to this day. The devs have abandoned it, and much of the player base has left. No new content has been dropped for Titanfall 2 since. That's because Respawn Entertainment had almost entirely moved on to develop a game that you might not have heard of called Apex Legends, which seemingly replaced a future Titanfall game by being set within the franchise's universe. A skeleton crew was left behind to manage the Titanfall 1 and 2 multiplayer servers. As bleak as Titanfall looked to the still holding religious fanbase, the worst was yet to come. Titanfall servers were relatively secure for years. Matches were found, pilots were happy, Marvins were abused, war crimes were committed. That was until the doomsday scenario arrived. A wave of hackers descended upon the peaceful lands of Titanfall around 2019, threatening to upset the status quo and make gamers everywhere cry. Servers on both Titanfall games were DDoSed into oblivion. This denial of service effectively shut down the multiplayer for both games. This great ceasefire of Titanfall was historic, especially because it showed that despite Respawn Entertainment stating that the Titanfall franchise was core to the company's DNA, we would soon learn that nothing effective would be done by the company to save their franchise. This was because Apex Legends finally released in 2019, and the slow burn of the game would soon bring it to new heights. Throughout the years, the server attacks would cease much to the celebration of the players, but they would return shortly after, back and forth again in a hellish cycle. Players would never know if the game was working or not. Hell, I'm writing this script right now and the time frame is fuzzy to me. All I remember is trying to play Titanfall 2 with my friends, but we couldn't even enter a server. After years of attacks on the servers, the player base began to dwindle further from the already tightly knit fan base. As all hope seemed lost, a glimmer of light was seen at the end of the tunnel. May 1st, 2021, Titanfall Day. This is when pilots planned and agreed to return to Titanfall 2 en masse. Fortunately for the players in their pilgrimage, the servers were finally playable once more at this time. The game saw a revival, like none ever before.
Mission accomplished. Good work.
Titanfall had returned, and right when things were looking up, the hackers returned with a vengeance. In late 2021, Titanfall 1 and 2 servers were slammed once again by the DDoS attackers, and this time, the server nuking was devastating. Titanfall 1 was completely abandoned by Respawn as they were far too occupied with Apex Legends, and it was pulled from online stores because, well, you know, selling a non-functioning product with no offline play is kind of illegal. And Titanfall 2, on the other hand, was relegated to its single-player campaign for months as the devs remained silent. It's a good thing that campaign's really good. Too bad it's a little short. All this time, the humble pilots of the frontier lived on without big robots and wall running. Some attempted to fill this itch by emulating wall running in real life to get their fix. And some players attempted to get their Titan fix IRL. In extreme cases, some players waited in silence as their psyche began to break. In an unprecedented mass Mandela effect, the Titanfall fanbase didn't just want a sequel for Titanfall 2. They wholeheartedly believed it not just has released, but was the best game of all time. Off their schizophrenia medication, players began collectively recalling weapons, bosses, game modes, and titans from the new game as they shared their thoughts on them. They even ranted about overpowered metas that dominated the servers of Titanfall 3.
Why are we still here? Just to...
Players no longer just speculated on the release of Titanfall 3. They openly willed the game into existence. The loss of Titanfall 2 servers and the wait for Titanfall 3 5 years after the previous installment released became far too much to handle. The Titanfall community entered a very dark place. Players fully lost their faith in the company. To remedy the server issues, a hero arrived, named Bob the Bob. You see, Bob the Bob arrived and developed the Northstar client. After installing this beautiful GitHub repository, users could bypass the DDoS attacks. Northstar was the community's attempt to repair the game, where Respawn Entertainment failed. This mod even unlocked all items in the multiplayer and included quite a few extra goodies itself. As a Titanfall 2 enjoyer myself, I had to give it a try. After loading up the first match, my excitement and anticipation were immeasurable. It was plagued by aimbotters and hackers. What is with these people? Titanfall can't go out like this. There were only around 100 players on the mod at this time, and less than 20 servers overall. Could it be that the game was destined to be an exclusion zone forever? Well, that's what we all thought. One ignorant Reddit post later, and the next server I logged into had a moderated anti-cheat client speaking in the chat. That's when my search for the forbidden Titanfall 2 had ended in triumphant success. So, where do we stand? Titanfall has had a rough journey, and although parts of the community are stuck with Titanfall 3 psychosis, it is unified in their enjoyment of this solid movement shooter. Throughout the neglect from the development studio, the waves of assault from hackers, and a lot of waiting, the franchise lives on in Titanfall 2, albeit with small remnants of what the former player base had been. Unfortunately for fans, though Apex Legends did not carry over the addictive and solid movement shooter mechanics, it was the golden child of the series and would receive all of the attention from Respawn Entertainment. But this was without some reprieve. Modders had supplemented and assisted in the survival of this game to great success. Titanfall survives, but after all this waiting, and dozens of rumors of a sequel in development had been struck down, I think it's time to accept that Titanfall 3, it's not gonna happen, guys. I'm sorry, I had to rip the band-aid off him. I know.
I gotta collect!
Like, you try and open a door and you end up making a pot of coffee, tanking the stock market, fucking hopping in a Jeep and driving away.
I hope you enjoyed this video and found it kind of fun or entertaining. Y'all have a great one, and hashtag save Titanfall.